Welcome to the HeaterTreater video for the Jeep Cherokee and Wrangler. What you're looking at is a typical dash configuration on a Cherokee, and it may or may not be identical to yours, but just to give you kind of a general idea of the overview. We'll go through diagnosis and repair of the system and give you some additional information on your vehicle. This one is a little different than most of the cars we work with because the problem is not the door breaking. The problem is that the door is flexible and it bends and wears out over time. We'll give you some more pictures and information, but this is actually a fairly easy repair and one that you'll find fairly easy to do yourself. The failure mechanism on the Cherokee Wrangler is a little different from a lot of vehicles. What you'll see is the flexible blend door will bend and confuse the calibration on the system. When this happens, you get very flaky operation. And you'll have problems with selecting hot and cold and getting good AC and good heat, just generally very flaky. The other fail mode is for that door to actually wedge all the way into the AC side of the drive, and when you do that you'll get permanent heat and you'll have max heat at all times and no ability to regulate the temperature. It's inevitable that all of them are going to fail because of the flexibility in the door. They just wear out. They don't really break, they wear out. So if you're seeing flaky operation or stuck on heat, this is the solution. The first thing we need to do is to locate the actuator motor, and it's on the bottom of the plenum box on the passenger side close to the transmission tunnel. The picture shows that area, and you may have to remove a cover or pull back carpeting, padding, etc. The picture shows a motor that has been removed, and you can see a little plastic axle connector that sticks down through it that connects to the motor. Once you have the motor off, you can always turn that with your finger and feel the door, and it's not going to be broken, it's just going to be loose, but the door should be functional enough that you can move it to air conditioning and heat, and check that your AC compressor is getting good AC and that your heater core is getting hot and providing heat. Here is the actuator motor, and this one I've opened up so you can see what's in there. You can see that there is a little DC motor and some electronic components. It also has a variable resistor, and that resistance value is fed back to the computer in order for the computer to know the position of the door. And really this is the source of the failure. This motor is driving too far because that door bends in both directions, and when it bends, the information back to the computer shows that the extents of movement are wider than they should be, and the computer cannot calibrate that door correctly, and it will cause failures because it doesn't completely open or completely close when the computer is confused. Replacing that with a metal door will solve the problem. Once we've located and removed the actuator motor, the next step in the process is going to be to cut a hole in the bottom of the plenum box. And this picture shows a plenum box that has been removed from the Jeep and is actually sitting on the bench, so it's a lot easier to see it rather than trying to crawl under the dash. It's not a difficult cut to make, but it is a little bit of a cramped area. Once we make the cut, we will remove the old plenum door. You can use the old blend door. You can use a Dremel tool, which is what we prefer, and we provide a Dremel bit with the kit. You can also use a hot knife, which is really nothing more than a soldering iron with a blade on it, or any other method that seems to be convenient for you.
Okay, we made the cut in the bottom of the box just like I showed you on the one outside. This is the existing door that was in there. You'll note that to get this one out, we had to come in from the bottom through the hole that we cut and kind of make a diagonal cut through that axle and separate this piece off. And once you do that, then the door comes out easily, and you can just push this piece up and take it out from inside the box. You can see that this is a fairly cheap piece of plastic, and you can see that it's starting to bend and flex as it gets older, and that's what's causing the failure. So we now have the old door out. We'll put the new door in and connect it back together. Again, the pictures in the written instructions are going to be a lot easier to follow than what we're doing with the car here, just because it's so cramped under the dash that it's hard to give you good pictures. Okay, this is a picture of the new HeaterTreater door that we're going to install, and that will fit in just like the old one did. It's got a spacer along the bottom, and then from outside the box we'll insert the axle up through it to make the connection to the motor. The form and fit is exactly the same as the OEM motor, so it will all operate correctly. We do have a better sealing foam on it, so you'll actually get a little better efficiency compared to the plastic motor, and you can see how that's kind of started to bend and flex on the end, and it's just not giving you a very good seal. You will get a much better seal with the foam provided in the kit. So I'm going to go ahead and put the door in, and we'll show you the operation once we get it installed. Again, there's not much point showing you what it looks like under the dash with my hands in the way, so you're going to have to kind of take our word for it that it's not particularly difficult to install this. Okay, most guys don't like to do a repair unless you get a new tool out of the deal, and here's one you may want to consider. This is a ratchet that's got a little lever on it that you push and it turns. And it turns out to be exactly perfect for getting to those little screws under the motor that you can't get a straight shot at. I got this one at Harbor Freight, so you may find that it makes it a little bit easier.
Once we've removed the old door and put the new one in, we use the section that we cut out, and we'll put that back in place with aluminum duct tape. So if you crawl under the dash, you will be able to see the repair, but it's really not very visible. Here you can see where we had to cut the bottom of that axle in order to remove the old door, and you'll also notice how flexible the seal is around the edges of the door. And this really is part of the problem. You get less efficient heat and AC. In addition, you get additional bending when that door attempts to open or close, and during the calibration process that confuses the computer, and it just doesn't really understand where the door is. In this picture you can also see the flexibility of that door, not just the rubber edges, but also the overall flexibility of the door. And here you can see how that will easily bend and move, and the problem is really not so much that the door breaks, but it actually wears out just from the constant bending back and forth. It gets weak and will not operate correctly in the system. Replacing that with a HeaterTreater door overcomes the problems, and you'll get better sealing capability and better operation of the door. Again, it's HeaterTreater, and we have additional information on our website at www.heatertreater.net, and this is a complete repair for the Cherokee Wrangler system. We have additional products for all of the major American automobiles, so please feel free to pass our name along to your friends with other trucks and vehicles.